This is the work for 613. For 613a, you need to solve for h. So you want to get h by itself. You want to isolate the variable h. In order to do that, we need to first eliminate the 2 in the denominator. And we can do that by using the fraction buster method, which means that we multiply by a common denominator. And so since there's only one denominator, we're going to multiply by 2. And so we have 2 multiplied by 1/2, which equals 1, or 2 divided by 2 is 1. And so we're left with 1 multiplied by BH. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. We have 2 multiplied by A, which gives us 2A. We still don't have H by itself, so we need to remove the B term from this side. And we do that, this is multiplication, we do that by the inverse property, which is division. And so we're going to divide both sides by B. B divided by B equals 1. No matter what B is, if B is 10, this is 10, so 10 divided by 10 is 1. What you do to one side, you do to the other. And that leaves us with 2A over B equals H. And the proper way of writing it, since we're solving for H, is to have the H term first. H equals 2A over B. For B, we're solving for the variable X. Before we do this, we need to simplify this left term by using distributive property. So we're going to distribute this x to both terms inside the parentheses. So we have x multiplied by 2x, which equals 2x squared. X multiplied by -1 equals -x. And again, we're trying to get x by itself. So now we're going to go ahead and subtract 2x from both sides of the equations. And you can see this created a 0 pair, and this created a 0 pair. So that eliminated those two terms. Still don't have x by itself. We want to get x to one side, and it's easier to get the x term to the side that has a greater value, which is this side. There's 5 x's here. So now we're going to add x to both sides. 5x plus x equals 6x. And -x plus x, that creates a 0 pair. You want to put a value here of 0. You don't want to leave, you don't want to put nothing here. So now we have a value of 0 here. Still don't have x by itself, so we're going to, inverse property of subtraction is addition, so we're going to add 12 to both sides. Created a 0 pair. 0 plus 12 is 12. Inverse property of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide by 6. The reason why we're dividing by 6 is because it creates the giant 1. 1 multiplied by x is x. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2. So x equals 2. Problem C, we're solving for y. So we want to get the y term by itself. So first we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. That creates a 0 pair. And then on this side, we have 24 minus 3x. These are not like terms, so we have 3x plus 24. Now you could have 24 minus 3x. The commutative property of addition allows you to put in either order. For example, 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2. So now we have, still don't have y by itself, so we're going to, this is multiplication, we're going to do the inverse property, which is division. This created the giant 1, identity property of multiplication. And then what you do to one side, you do to the other, but you have to do it to each term on the other side. So here's one term, we're dividing by 6. Here's the second term, we're dividing by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1, or just 1, or just y. -3 divided by 6, or -3x divided by 6 is -1/2 x. And then 24 divided by 6 is 4. For problem D, we're solving for x. Now, we want to simplify the left side of the equation. And remember GEMDOS, we have to do grouping first, but there's nothing inside the parentheses to simplify, no exponents. Then we're doing multiplication and division from left to right. So -3 multiplied by the quantity of 2x minus 1. We have to do that first before we do addition and subtraction. So you can't do 2 minus 3 first. You have to follow the order of operations. So we're going to distribute this -3 to both of these terms. And we have -3 multiplied by 2x is -6x. -3 multiplied by -1 is a +3. Now we have two like terms. 2 plus 3 equals 5. And if you noticed here that the terms on the left side are the same terms on the right side. And I'm going to address that once we get to the end. And remember, we're solving for x. So we're going to go ahead and subtract 5 from both sides. That's a 0 pair, and that's a 0 pair. And we're left with -6x equals -6x. Still, same terms on both sides of the equation. Inverse property of multiplication is division. And a lot of students forget that when you divide, if it's a negative, you have to divide by negative to create that giant 1. -6 divided by -6 equals 1x, and -6 divided by -6 equals 1x, and we have x equals x. So what that means is there's infinite solutions to this equation. No matter what value you put for any real number that you put in for x, it will make the equation true. Problem E, we're solving for x. We're going to go ahead and distribute the 2 to both terms in this on this side of the equation. So we have 2 multiplied by 5x equals 10x. 2 multiplied by z equals 2z. Still solving for x, so we want to get x by itself. We're going to bring x to the side that has a greater value. So we're going to subtract 10x from both sides. That creates a 0 pair. 30x minus 10x is 20x. Still don't have x by itself, so we need to get rid of these two terms. And so we're going to go ahead and subtract 3y from both sides. Inverse property of addition is subtraction. That creates a 0 pair. These are not like terms, so we can't combine them. So we're going to end up with -3y and plus 2z. Now we have this +10, inverse property of addition is subtraction. So we're going to subtract 10 from both sides. That creates a 0 pair. And here, these three terms are not like terms, so we can't combine them. So we have -3y plus 2z minus 10 equals 20x. Still don't have x by itself. So we're going to do the inverse property of multiplication, which is division. We're going to go ahead and divide both sides by 20. And just like we did in a previous problem, what you do to one side, you have to do to each term on the other side. So this creates the giant 1, identity property of multiplication. 1 multiplied by x is going to equal x. And then on the left side, each of these terms are divided by 20. So since each of these terms are divided by 20, you can write it in this form, or you can break each term up and simplify. So we have -3y divided by 20. That does not simplify. +2z divided by 20. Well, 2 divided by 20 simplifies to 1/10. And -10 divided by 20 equals -1/2. For problem F, we're solving for x. So on both sides of the equation, we need to simplify. So on the left side, we need to distribute the 4x. On the right side, we need to distribute the 2x to both terms on the right and the negative 3 to both terms on the right. So on the left side of the equation, 4x multiplied by x is going to equal 4x squared. 4x multiplied by 1 equals 4x. On the on the right side, 2x multiplied by 2x is 4x squared. 2x multiplied by 5 is 10x. Now to the second term. Negative 3 multiplied by 2x is negative 6x. And negative 3 multiplied by 5 is negative 15. You can see on the right side that we have two like terms. On the left side, we don't have like terms. So we're going to go ahead and combine like terms on the left side. 10x minus 6x equals 4x. Still don't have x by itself. And so we're going to go ahead and subtract 4x squared from both sides. And you can see that both sides create 0 pairs. So we're left with 4x equals 4x minus 15. Still don't have x by itself, so we're going to get x to one side. Inverse property of addition is subtraction. So we subtract 4x, which creates a 0 pair, and this side creates a 0 pair. And remember, since 4x minus 4x equals 0, we have to put 0. And then on the right side, we have negative 15. Well, 0 does not equal negative 15. So that's not a true statement. So there's no solution. There's no value that I can put into this equation to make it true. Problem G, we're solving for x. On the left side, we're going to have to go simplify by distributing the 5 to both sides of the equation. To both terms in the parentheses. So we have 5 multiplied by negative 3, which is negative 15. 5 multiplied by x is 5x. Still don't have x by itself, so inverse property of subtraction is addition. We're going to add 15 to both sides, creates a 0 pair. 35 plus 15 equals 50. Inverse property of multiplication is division. We're going to divide by 5 because that creates the giant 1. What you do to one side, you do to the other. 50 divided by 5 is 10, so x equals 10. Problem H, we're solving for the variable m. So this is kind of like the fraction buster method that we did previously. And so we want to eliminate the m in the denominator, and we can do that by multiplying both sides of the equation by m. And m divided by m equals 1. And f multiplied by 1 is just f. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. So m multiplied by a equals ma. And we have f on the right side. And again, we want to solve for m. So this is multiplication. Inverse property of multiplication is division. We're going to divide by a. A divided by a equals 1. No matter what value you put in for a, if you said a was 100, well, this would be 100. 100 divided by 100 equals 1. What you do to one side, you do to the other. So m equals f over a. Problem I, we're solving for b. So we want to get b by itself. So here we have a negative 2. Inverse property of subtraction is addition. We're going to add 2 to both sides. That creates 0 pair. These are not like terms, so we cannot combine them. So we get 3c plus 2. Still don't have b by itself. This is multiplication. Inverse property of multiplication is division. We're going to divide by a because that creates the giant 1. What you do to one side, you have to do to each term on the right side. So we have b equals 3c over a plus 2 over a, or you can have b equals 3c plus 2 over a. Problem J, we want to solve for the variable w. And the first thing we need to do is go ahead and simplify both sides of the equation by using distributive property. On the left side, we have 2 multiplied by v, which equals 2v. 2 multiplied by negative 3 is negative 6. Now, a lot of my students forget to distribute to the second term. You have to distribute to both terms. Now here, you can say the opposite of a positive w is negative w, or you can say negative 1 multiplied by w is negative w. Opposite of a positive 4 is negative 4, or negative 1 multiplied by positive 4 is negative 4. I like to just say the opposite. It's just easier for me to remember. Opposite of w, negative w. Opposite of a positive 4, negative 4. Now we have like terms here. 1 minus 4 equals negative 3. Still don't have w by itself, so we're going to go ahead and inverse property of subtraction is addition. Created a 0 pair. Negative 6 plus 3. We have more negatives than positives, so you know the value is going to be a negative number. And so negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Now I have a negative w here on this side. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to multiply this side by a negative 1, because a negative multiplied by a negative is going to equal a positive. And we want to know what the value for w is, not negative w. So by multiplying this side by negative 1, that makes a negative multiplied by a negative is going to make it a positive w. Now what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And remember, you have to do it to each term on the left side. So negative 1 multiplied by 2v is negative 2v. Negative 1 multiplied by negative 3 is a positive 3. And since we're solving for w, we should put the variable w first. W equals negative 2v plus 3.